Hey everyone, my name is Alec and welcome to another edition of MASL Midweek, where I break down the past and predict the future for the MASL. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about this week, so let's just jump right into it. There's a lot to talk about from last week and a lot that really sucks from last week. The first thing that really sucks about last week is the fact that three more teams have dropped out of this season. Harrisburg Heat, Rochester Lancers, and Utica City FC will not play this year, which definitely sucks, but is also not that surprising. I had my suspicions that these teams and a lot of other teams may not be playing this year when the league's plan was first announced, and then when the Baltimore Blast dropped out a few weeks ago, I thought it was all but certain that these three teams would drop out as well. So definitely disappointing. I was really hoping to see more than 7 teams play this season, but with the way things are in the world right now, you just kind of got to take what comes your way. The good news is I am very confident that all 3 of these teams will be back next season, so that's a positive, but for now it sucks that we're not going to see them play this year. The next bit of crappy news, or maybe not crappy news, depending on how you look at it, is the fact that Josh Schaub will be stepping down as the commissioner of the MASL at the beginning of June. Now, I am disappointed to see this, but I'm not overly upset by it. I do think Josh Schaub has done some very good things for this league. First and foremost, I think he really helped the league find an identity. Before he came in, you had some teams playing in big arenas and some teams playing in rec centers, and for the most part, that has all been evened out. All teams are playing in somewhat sizable arenas, and I think the league has a pretty good sense for what it is. So I'll give Josh Schaub a lot of credit for that. I also really like how he has established the MASL pyramid with the additions of M2 and M3. I think that's a great way to branch out this sport and just to give us more arena soccer, which is always a good thing. So that's great, and I'll give Josh Schaub a lot of credit for those and many other things he has done for this league. With that being said, though, I do understand there are plenty of people who criticize Josh for a number of things, and I understand a lot of those criticisms are completely valid, and for those people, they're probably looking forward to a new commissioner coming in. And with that in mind, I do want to talk a little bit about what I want to see from a new commissioner. And for me, the biggest thing that I want to see from a commissioner is stability. I'm not that interested in seeing the league expand all over the country or seeing a TV deal or anything like that. What I want to see is the core of teams that we have right now. I want to see all of them drawing a lot of fans per game, having a lot of sponsorships, and just being around for a long time. I don't want to see this revolving door of teams that we've had, albeit it has not been as much of a revolving door in the past few years, but still, I'd really like to see the MASL have a solid core of teams that is drawing a lot of fans, has a lot of sponsorships, and survive for a long time. And that's really what I want to see from the new commissioner. As I said, I'm not that interested in expansion. I'm not that interested in a TV deal, to be perfectly honest. I just want to see the league as it is right now be stable and to grow in the markets that it's already in. Now, obviously, this is a very complicated thing, and it's very easy to say that, much harder to actually do it, but that is what I want to see from a new commissioner. And I'm not the one to ask about how all that is accomplished, but I do think that should be the number one goal of the league trying to find a new commissioner and for the new commissioner once they come in. I also think that if you're able to establish that solid core of teams, then some other pieces of the puzzle will fall into place. If you have teams that are doing it really well, naturally you're going to attract more investors with expansion teams. And if you attract more investors and expansion teams, and all of these teams are solid and doing well, then things like TV deals would follow as well. But as I said, I think the league should focus on that further down the road. For now, we really need to just get the teams that we have stable and solid. The final piece of news from last week that I want to talk about, and well, it really kind of sucked for me, is the fact that I got every prediction wrong last week. I predicted St. Louis would win both games against Ontario, and Ontario won both of those games. I also predicted that Tacoma would beat Dallas, and you guessed it, Dallas beat Tacoma. Now, for the Dallas-Tacoma game, I give myself a little bit of a break because Tacoma was missing like half of their team due to COVID issues, and that's not something that I really saw coming. And with the backup players that they had, they just weren't as good as they would have been if they had their normal starters. Not really that much of a surprise. But I will say that for Dallas, this game should be a confidence boost for you because you got your first win of the season. But at the same time, I think you might want to be maybe a little bit alarmed because playing against a team full of backups, you should not have had to go to overtime to beat them. I think the Sidekicks should have beaten the Stars easily in this one, and they didn't. The Stars backups put up a great fight, and the Sidekicks just weren't able to put them away. So, as I said, for Dallas, yes, you get confidence. It's your first win of the season, but at the same time, it should have been a lot easier than it was. As for the Ontario at St. Louis games, last week I wasn't really sure what the status of Frank Taiu was. I wasn't sure if he was still injured or if he was at 100%. Turns out he's totally fine. He had the game-winning goal on Friday and just overall looked good, which of course helped Ontario themselves look very good. So I think I may have underestimated the Fury a little bit. And, last week I talked about St. Louis potentially being the best team in the league. Thanks, guys, for making me look really good with that prediction. St. Louis struggled this week. I still think they're a very good team, and I don't think they're as bad as they looked at some points this weekend. But, I'm not really thinking about that anymore. I still think they're one of the top tier teams in the league, but to me now it's pretty clear, at least at this point, they are not the best team in the league. Okay, with all of that not so great news out of the way, let's move on to next week and predict some games. We'll start off on Friday when the Kansas City Comets are hosting the St. Louis Ambush. Considering how both of these teams are playing right now, Kansas City a couple weeks ago had a fantastic game against San Diego when they were missing 8 players due to COVID. So Kansas City right now is looking pretty hot. Meanwhile, St. Louis had a really rough weekend against Ontario, so they're looking kind of cold right now. Also on top of that, this game is in Kansas City, so I got to put all that together and pick the Comets to win this one. It is a Kansas City versus St. Louis game though, so it's going to be epic for sure, but I am picking the Comets to win it. And then the only other game we have this week is the Sidekicks hosting the Tropics. You have the Sidekicks, which are a team that, as I've said many times before, are a team that I do not think is playing to their full potential. And the Florida Tropics, which are a team that we all know, they're stacked, they're great. I'm picking the Tropics to win this one, even if Dallas has their best game of the season in this one, which I don't really think is going to happen. I don't see them making any major improvements during this week. I think the Tropics would still win. I think the Tropics are just that much of a better team. So I'm confidently picking the Tropics to win this game. And with that, I think I can wrap this episode up. But thank you for watching. While you're here, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.